Welcome to Dub Life Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania Magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to Dub Life Diaries. Now, picture buying your dream 1958 Volkswagen Beetle. You're online and you find it for less than $2,000. Sounds like the deal of a lifetime until you show up and you discover that the entire car is scattered across the driveway in hundreds of pieces. Then you get it home and you realize the title doesn't even belong to the car. Now, most people would have walked away. Not Tony Hall, he didn't. What followed, though, was a years-long journey involving a nationwide search for a former owner, a preacher who held the key to saving the title, a cross-country restoration, one of the biggest builder scandals the Volkswagen community has ever seen, heartbreak, betrayal, an emotional reunion with the very car that he thought he lost forever. This isn't just the story of a 1958 Glacier Blue Beetle, which is sitting right here behind me. It's a story about obsession, determination, and just how far some Volkswagen people are willing to go to save a piece of history. If you've ever rescued a project, chased down impossible parts, or trusted the wrong builder, even if you've ever wondered if that one car was worth all this pain, this episode is going to hit home. Welcome back to Dub Life Diaries. I'm your host, Joe Person, and today we're diving into one of the wildest restoration stories that we've ever featured. This is the incredible journey of Tony Hall and the parts to car saga and the unforgettable 1958 Beetle that's sitting right here behind me. Tony, welcome to Dub Life Diaries.
Thanks for having me.
What's up, my man?
Nothing, just trying to chill.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it. Before we dive in, I am going to give a shout out to a couple sponsors. First up on the list, Volksmania Magazine. You guys know how I feel. Flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. Check these guys out, Volksmania.com. You can use the discount code DubLife10. If you're going through, you can check out, use DubLife10. You'll get 10% off of your subscription. Shout out to the Salty Dub from the beach to the bay. Salty Dub is tearing up the west coast of Florida and the entire Volkswagen community and scene. On the website, saltydub.com, you can find all kinds of swag. We've got those vent clip window holders that hold your window open. I'll put pictures up on them here so you can see. They're on the website. Again, you can use DubLife10 at checkout, get 10% off all swag. Also, stay tuned and stay locked. Salty Dub is putting out all the events. The fall schedule's coming out. So we got all the Beach Bash and the nighttime Skyway event and the Pier event and the next daytime Skyway event. All those are coming up and will be mentioned on Salty Dub's website. Also, shout out to my buddy Glenn Obert, Oil Slicker Society International, OSSI. This isn't just a car club, it's a community, it's a family, it's all about relationships, and as Glenn says, it's a way of life. Check these guys out, oilslickers.com. You can check that out there. It's the orange that keeps on crushing. Glenn, I appreciate the swag, man. Thank you. I'm repping the shirt today. I appreciate you. Last shout out, Tony, and it's back to you. My buddy Alan Guvara, Vera Upholstery of St. Pete, award-winning upholstery for your classic car. Classic Dub goes beyond dubs. He does everything. The guy even does boats, all right? And when I say he does boats, I mean he does boats better than anybody I've ever seen. So check these guys out, veraupholstery.com. All right, man. All done with shout-outs, my friend. It's back to you now. Back to you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. Now, take us back to the night that you bought this Beetle behind me on eBay. What made you hit that buy it now button?
Well, I was cruising out to Saddlebrook, New Jersey. I run from Harrisburg, PA to Saddlebrook in my UPS truck. And I had gotten to the building, and at some point during the ride, I saw it online on eBay, whether I would stop for a couple of minutes or I saw it. And this is probably middle of the night. And it intrigued me because at that point I hadn't built a car. and I hadn't, and I knew it was an older, like the picture behind you. I knew it had been around, and it really hadn't been messed with much. And so the guy had it listed, and it was just one of those prices. Like either I do this or I don't. And I just hit the buy it now, and we just let it rip and see where we can go with it.
You pull up in the driveway in Buffalo and you see that this car is spread out into however many pieces in the driveway. What was your first thought?
Well, my first thought was I had a 58 at the time, a black one, and this was a little bit special because it's a 1 year only color. But my first thought was the price I got it at, the parts. I was still okay because I think I picked it up for talking back and forth with him, to go back a little bit back and forth with him. I had figured out that he didn't have a title for the car, and we had gone back and forth. I believe I hit the buy it now was 2,200, and I had to inform him that he didn't have the title, and we went back and forth and basically agreed to $1,800. And I figured at that point,
Wow.
this is like 19 or 20, that the parts alone, it had the original radio, it had the original seats, it had everything was there. It had just been put away inside. And I wasn't expecting it to be out there like a yard sale when I showed up, but it was definitely spread out. But I figured I wasn't buried too bad.
When you see all this, you say it's worth it, but curious, did you ever, even for 1 second, did you consider, hey man, I'm out, I'm gonna walk away?
Nah, no, I didn't quite know how I was going to get it all done. I mean, I didn't have a place for the car. I barely had a place for my other 58 in an off-site storage. I really didn't even have a place for the car. And when we picked it up, it filled up the trailer in the back of an Avalanche. And one guy I took two buddies with me, Jeremy and Colt, and Colt was squeezed in the back with parts all around him. And the trip up was great. And the trip up to Buffalo, which was 10 hours, was great, or whatever it is. But I tell you what, wasn't when the adrenaline's gone and you're dragging it home, it's like, man, we were whooped loading that thing up.
How long did it take
So
you guys to load everything up? Three dudes.
it took a good couple hours to try to. I mean, it was still a roller, so we were able to push it up and load a bunch of stuff in the car. So, but we had to come up with a pretty good plan. And I don't remember. We probably had a few moving blankets to cover some stuff up, but it took a few hours to get that thing loaded. I know we were. I think when we left, it was dark.
Now, you had mentioned now that you had already discovered that there was an issue with the title, right? So you utilized that for negotiations. So I guess what was the next discovery then? Did you realize now that whatever the VIN number was that he had advertised, was that not what matched the title? Like what was I remember you saying there was another big issue in the paperwork or another big dilemma. What was the next big dilemma?
Well, the problem after talking to him and he started sending me pictures, more and more pictures, more than what was on the eBay posting, it was very apparent that it was a typographical error. I think the last three of the VIN were 333, and this was literally 666, whatever
Okay,
in line. So it was either up or down. It was very typographical error.
got it.
At the time, Maine had. I was just figuring, heck, Maine gives out titles. I really hadn't got into all that, but Maine was a bring a, you know, pay for kind of thing, and you stated the value, and Maine was where I was told would be the best path to go. And so I kind of put that in my back pocket and said, we're going to get these parts and see what we can do with this thing.
On issuing titles, how difficult is it to correct issues with titles for you?
At the time,
Not
I
necessarily
had
for
looked,
you, I guess, but in your state, I guess, more or less.
well, there was in Pennsylvania, there was really nothing I could do. I tried to, there, because what we were going to end up doing, I guess Maine would have ended up being he wrote me a bill of sale, and I was
Okay.
going to go with no title bill of sale to Maine, which now there's a few states now that do it also, but at that time, Maine wasn't as cheap as it used to be. Maine had caught on, and they were assessing their own values for the car. So I think a title for that $1,800 car would have cost me $800,000. It was pushing close to 50%. And I'm
Wow.
like, man, that, yeah, I was like, I have, it was really one of those things. Do I really want to go this route? Because I don't know. I didn't really know what was going to happen with the car. It was not good enough to just be put back together. But so I really didn't know the path. And that, like I said, at 50% of the cost was just not looking like where I wanted to go with it. So I kind of had to get it home and push it in storage and figure that part out, keep working on that.
The only thing I can relate to that, Florida's pretty tough with titles. They are a title, theory state, meaning they issue titles.
Mm-hmm.
But I recently had a conversation with a guy up in Connecticut, and I was going to get a bay window bus from him, and he didn't have a title. And he originally had told me, he's like, "No, I don't have the title." But upon doing some research, I had discovered that, well, Connecticut doesn't issue titles on classic
Right.
cars or cars that are over 20 years old. So I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
strange. So, right. I'm like, that's awkward. So what do you do? Right. So I do some research and I find out if the car is registered in Connecticut and the seller can prove that it's currently a valid registration, you take that registration down to the DMV in Florida and they would treat that as it's a title. And then they would
Right.
they would issue you a title based on that. So, bro, that was nothing. I'm like, is it registered? Yes. I'm like, send me a picture of the registration. Boom, I got that. I'm like, play ball. That's the same thing as a,
Right.
right? So it
I
actually
think
changed
I,
the way I saw things, right? Because a lot of times you see these cars for sale all over the country, and there are some states that are not title states.
right.
So it changed the way I looked at things, as far as whether or not somebody has a title to offer with some of these classic cars. Because, well, if it's a state like Connecticut, all you need is a valid registration, and you can get your own
Right.
title, down here. So anyway,
And through the years, I think I had somebody that lived in Georgia that was the same deal. They were a bill of sale, and then I
right.
reached out to their DMV. Well, they have an inspector on site, so you have to be there with the car. So that turned into something different.
Oh
And
goodness.
there's just so many avenues. I mean, this thing behind me, this thing has a uh what do you sorry. It has a lean on it. Or what do you call it? It had an engine fire. What do you call that? I'll start over, but what do we call that?
So did somebody owe money on it, like a mechanic's lien?
No, it's it just refurbished title. Is that what
Oh,
it
okay,
is?
yeah, a rebuilt title.
Rebuilt title. There it is.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
this car behind me has a rebuilt title out of Charleston.
Okay.
So I bring it up here and I go through and get this thing done. I have to get a special inspection to get it off rebuilt before I can title it in PA, which is $300. And they want to keep this thing for 2 weeks and drive it and figure it out. This is a no shock 4-inch beam in the front. And I mean, I have no idea who's going to be driving this little race car and what they think is a good bug and what's not.
Right,
So
true.
there's so many things going on now but I mean, as I've gotten older and wiser, I mean, basically sometimes I say, well, it's insured. We're going down the road. Or, this is a new title and a VIN plate, and I'm out down the road welding a new VIN.
So
Not that
back to this
that's
58 before we move past it.
absolutely.
Still trying to solve all of these issues. I think next step in your story was tracking down the original owner, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of windshield time cruising around in the truck. So I, uh, I finally, it just hit me one night. I had the title, from the previous owner and the bill of sales when it changed hands to this guy I bought it from. And he had a very distinct name. It just clicked, light bulb went off one night. I can find this guy. And so I started that avenue of trying to find this guy. So it was a simple, it started out as a Google search, which kind of put me onto Facebook. And it didn't take long. He didn't have um a very current Facebook page, but a few years earlier he had changed jobs. And he was a preacher. He had changed jobs to working at a mission, I believe is what it was, or like a halfway house type mission setup. And I'm like, well, this is worth a shot. So I waited till the next day because this was all, at night. And the next day, I made the phone. His name was Todd Van Ryan, Ryn. So it was just one of those names. Like how many of these guys am I going to find? So even if
Well,
it's a handful, I'm calling them
yeah.
all.
Right, right.
And he was his Facebook said he was still in Wisconsin. That's where they went from Wisconsin to Buffalo. So yeah, I called his work because I didn't have a number for him. I called the work. I think his house number came up somewhere and it was disconnected. But I called his work and they said, "Yeah, he's here. He's out doing a walk around the building. He's the manager. I'll have him give you a call." And lucky enough, within an hour or so, he called me up. So we were on to something.
So what was that first conversation like?
He was very excited. He goes, "Man, I remember that car. I love that car." And
Oh,
he was a VW guy, and he
wow.
really, and it was his daily. It was early 2000s when all this kind of went down for him when he had it. I thought it was a lot earlier, but it was more like the early 2000s. And he said he drove it a lot, and he actually used it out in front of his business. I don't remember what his business was, his advertisement. Really loved the thing, and he said his business expanded, and that was what he needed. He took the cash flow from this little car and expanded his business, and it went on its way.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah. Did you explain to him at that time that you were having this issue with the title?
yeah. I had called. I had already looked into everything, and what I did is I said, "Hey, we went through all the niceties and you know uh, all the Volkswagen talk and really getting excited." And
Yeah.
I told him, I said, "Hey, I kind of have a problem. This thing, when they titled this car to you, there was a typographical error on this thing." And he's like, "Really?" He goes, "It's never been retitled." I go, "No, this thing's still in your name." I said, I looked online, and Wisconsin will do a VIN alteration at no cost. And it's all laid out. And I've kind of started the process. And I said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to send you 3 priority mail letters. I'm going to send out the one with everything in it, and it's going to have a letter for the envelope and I put little tabs everywhere for him to sign. I try to make it as bulletproof as possible.
Right.
I said, "I just need you to send this title to Wisconsin, and they're going to send it back, and it's done. And I sent you a prepaid envelope to send it back to me. Is that something you're willing to do?"
Wow.
He goes, "Absolutely." I said, "This is really just going to take this from a pile of parts, and this is going to be a car again." He goes, "Absolutely." And then it was just a waiting game. I was really excited to get this thing sent off, because it had probably been kind of back of the mind 6 months, just kind of, what am I going to do with this thing? Because I couldn't send it out to do anything with it, and I was like, what am I going to do with it? So that was really a cool thing.
Yeah, I swear, and I say this, I'm sure you'll agree with it. Stuff like this only happens in our community,
Right.
and there are stories like this, all the time. There are stories where, old owners, etc., are always willing to kind of go that extra mile to help the next dubber,
Right.
especially if they
Yeah.
were ingrained in the VW community at all.
And I think we all have that. Where did my car go? If they're really special to you, you really have that. Where is that thing now? What's going on with it?
Yeah,
You
right
hope it
on.
doesn't get away from you, but when it does, it's like, where's it at?
Right, right. So curious, have you talking to this dude since then?
No, I haven't. I will have to. He's still in my phone. I'll have to certainly send him a text. I think I sent him a few pictures along the way of what was going on with it, and he was excited to get them, but certainly going to have to let him know. So I still have his number.
So let's move over to building the car now. So you've got the title now. Fast forward a little bit. Now the project, in a sense, can begin. So what kind of dream or vision do you have for this Beetle behind me here?
My dream for that car was basically get it suspension. The interior was, I had people locally. I had one of the guys that was with me, Jeremy. He was a paint guy at a Ford dealership. So that was a little bit complicated as to whether we were going to be able to get it in there and how long it would be there and what that would cost. So that was like kind of the first plan. What can we do with this thing, rust repair wise? Or is that something that they'd be willing to do? And then basically the seats, they had just busted the seams where the piping was, so they were all there. The Door cards were really nice. So it was going to be back on its feet and run. I mean, I really didn't have anything but suspension. I didn't even have any engine. We were going to patch it up and put it on the ground and kick it and see what it would do and just cruise it. It really just wanted. I had fallen in love with that color, that silver blue, and it really. And I'm not a 1 year only kind of guy, but it is you don't see them around, so it's a cool color. So, but I really didn't want to do a whole lot with it. It just was going to be a little suspension and go. So I'd never had big engine cars, so that wasn't even on my mind at the time.
Right.
So,
So you ended up
so
going with somebody else for a lot of your metal and your body work, right?
yeah, I ended up looking around, and I had for my black 58, I had purchased suspension beams and trailing arms and stuff from Sam Manis at Valley Auto Works. And they had him and his dad do about one or two cars at a time and really do really good rust repair. And that they really, they were going to blend in the paint. When we got down to talking to it, we were going to do a little bit of blend to get it back to, looking presentable, but we really weren't. It was going to come out of there a roller. It was going to come out of there ready. Took the engine, it had the original engine with it. So I took that one down there and said, hey, let's try to stab this in there and see what we can do. I mean, even when it went down there, I think he was going to do the suspension because he was going to have the body off and
Right.
do all the rust repair.
Wow, dude.
So yeah, so we made the run. It's about a 4 or 5 hour drive down there, and really really good people and does good work and
How long was it
along the
there?
way.
Yeah, how long was it there?
Oh, it was there probably 3 or 4 months, and maybe that long. And he really keeps you updated as much as he can, and which goes a long way because when dealing with builders, it's hard when you don't know what's going on. And he really, you know, there's a file on even on his website now that has this car and all the different steps that it went through, and it's really neat to go back and look at what him and his dad did to. And he does it all the time. He doesn't think much of it, but I don't do that kind of work. So I'm like, man, it's nice to see it moving along. So it was there for a while before I started getting an itch to do something else.
I was just talking to another set of folks I had on the podcast just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about, you know, status updates and pictures and stuff when somebody's car is at your shop and you're doing things, etc. And I was saying from a customer's perspective, I've always kind of liked that feeling of being on the receiving end when you receive pictures of progress, right? Because
Right.
regardless of who you are, how much money you're spending, it's a thought. If you, like you said a minute ago, if you fall in love with the car and it's now gone and you're used to being able to look out in your driveway every day and visualize things and dream or in your garage or whatever, and now it's gone, right? So there's a void, and that
Right.
void kind of gets filled with when these shops end up sending you progress pictures. So it was cool to hear you say that. But yeah, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I was going to correct that. Not trailing arms. He does spring plates. A lot of
Okay.
the stuff I'd ordered from him was spring plates and my beams from him.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, and he does air stuff and then he does a lot. So
Yes.
really good guys. Not too far away.
So then you were saying that it before it took you just a little while before you started thinking about your next project. So what was your next project that you started thinking about?
So if the VW world remembers, um, JB Bugs hit the VW world in 1920, probably middle of 2019 into 2020, and it was a frenzy. I mean, he was buying and flipping and moving and growing as a business. What he was putting out there, he just had this whole thing going. And I really wasn't. I mean, just like when we were kids, I can't sit down and look at the classifieds on Sunday, but I'm always on Marketplace looking for the next thing to do. You
Hey,
know,
amen. Me
and
too.
when he's throwing that stuff and just throwing it out there and throwing it out there, it's just like, man, he really had something going on for a little bit, or so everybody thought, and he was buying up everything. So uh, at one point, he ended up with a '59 ragtop,
Oh,
and
nice.
this thing when he first got it, it basically looked like a Harlequin. I mean, it had different color panels all over the thing, and it was, he was just getting into it, so he was just getting it going. And funny story, it actually came out of PA, and I think he's in Indiana, so he had bought it up in his ventures. He had bought it from PA, and it ended up over there. And I ended up meeting the guy who sold it to him. So I mean, he was
Wow.
just buying
Small world.
everything.
Always,
Yeah.
always a small world in the dub community.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing, I watched the progress on this car, and my dream was to have a rag top at some point. And I was like, well, it came out of paint, and there was I can never say it, mignonette, whatever the word is, green, MIGONETTE, whatever that is, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a green. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
really cool green,
Okay.
and it actually looks really like the '58 behind you. It really looks good, faded out too. But this one was fresh painted, and it had come out, and I'm like, and I had been talking to him just like everybody else, rambling all the time, hitting him up for this or that. What are you going to ask for that? And I said, yeah, I think this is the one I got to have. And so I talked to him for a little bit, and we came up with a price for that car as a roller. And it didn't even have the rag. Well, it had the mechanism, but it had no interior, nothing really going on with it. And it was just a roller out of paint. And so I made the deal on buying that. And then I had these two cars. Well, it was my third, two 58s and a '59. And I'm like, I don't think I can support. We're gonna run off and build this thing in Indiana when you know, the blue car is down south. I believe he's Tennessee. And so I was like, man, we got to figure something out. So I let it go, and he was working on it, and he was still blowing smoke all over the place. But still, he was trying to keep me updated on it. He was a little bit harder to get the information out of him here and there. But, we were working. And then finally I got to the point like, hey, I had a pretty big chunk in that blue car. All its rust repair was done, and it was certainly touched everywhere. And but it had come along, and I made the deal that I would trade the roller to I basically told him I needed to, even as the blue car was sitting, I needed $8,000 to $10,000 credit for this car because it's out of rust repair. It's got some money in it. It's ready to be built. So we agreed. I think he had a 1776 that he was going to rebuild, and he was going to do the interior. So that got me down the road in this green car, got the interior done, had everything, it was going to be done. So we made that deal, and then it just kind of went from there. It just, the
That was my
smoke.
that was my next question. Looking back, when or was there a moment, it's right here, where you realized things maybe weren't adding up?
Uh, the JB Bugs was about getting you on the hook. I think the bad builders, the one like if you talk to Sam, Sam is not he's not there to hype you. He's not there. He's there to work. He's doing his work. He's not gonna. There's no hype to it. And I think I've run into a couple builders, and I think the thing that you need to remember is that it's like buying a car. If you go in with that excitement, then you're on the hook. And if you go in with that, and it's hard not to be really excited about building a car I'm on this end. It just really, it really isn't. It's just one of those things. This is going to be awesome. That's all. It's just going to be awesome. And I think he was one of those guys that just fed. He could feel that. He was a con man, and he fed into your emotion. We can do this. We can do that. I mean, to the point. And when you're wrapped up with that, then he wants to talk about his personal life, what he's got. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be doing this. They're going to come and see because this is 1920. This stuff's still going with Gas Monkey, Garage, whatever, all the things. Everything's still going like that. and
Two,
he thinks
two,
he's,
two, 2020.
yeah, 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So that stuff is still going a little bit. And, Discovery, all these places are still put. So, but I think you get wrapped up in the emotion. It's not like I was a young man, but you still get wrapped up in the emotion of having this thing done. And I think we preyed on that. And, and it was really then, less and less pictures, he'd always answer, but he was going to a meeting or he had something to do. And he was still pretty present.
Gonna
You
be
know
on
what I mean?
TV.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He's talking producers. But
Right, 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 exactly.
yeah, so that stuff didn't impress me. I think that's not what I cared about. But he was growing his business and he was busy. Luckily for me, I was one of those guys that if he was treating me well, I'm hyping him. I'm telling him, hey, look at this, buy this from JB Bugs, do this. I support my community when I think things are good.
Sure, sure, sure.
So, luckily for me, I didn't, I wasn't one of the guys that he really completely just stole from, but it certainly wasn't what I expected.
Let's
And
let's touch on that. So you're going to pick this rag top up now, right?
so, yeah, so the plan, I had to get a hold of Sam, and Sam's like, yeah, we're at this point and I can complete this up. So I needed to make a run. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to come down to you and grab that car. And so I went from Tennessee to Indiana. I just made a loop. Me and my dad hooked up the trailer and we're going to make this road trip. And we went down and got the blue car and made sure Sam was taken care of and moving on from that. And we went up to Indiana and got there, and he, cordial and everything. I didn't see a picture. I didn't know what this guy looked like until the week before I picked it up. He had Zoom called me. That's how he didn't have his face online. Even though he was doing all this stuff in the background, I really didn't see him till the last minute when he wanted to tease me with some Zoom call and show me this car or whatever, towards the end.
Right. Okay.
Because he had done some suspension work and he wanted to show some stuff off. So we got there and the car was complete and it was sitting pretty. The paint, he did some things happen at the end where, the interior never got done. It wasn't running very well. It was running okay. Later found out that the carb was backwards and hooked up backwards, and there was no way that it was going to get the right throw for it to run right.
Now this was after that, just so myself and all the listeners are going to be able to put this together. This is after your Glacier Blue 58 had already gone back to him. You'd already traded that thing back away, right? For this
no,
additional work.
No, to finalize the deal, I took him the Glacier Blue.
Okay.
And gave him it the day I picked up the green one.
Okay. Okay.
So we made the swap at that point. So I dropped one off the trailer and was picking another one up. And we went out for the test. I took it for the test drive, and it was a little rough running, but I think I was a little forgiving for what it was. I shouldn't have been, but it's a 59 bug, and this wasn't a huge build. It wasn't, because the paint was okay, but it's very rough. It was, it looked good, but it wasn't great. It had like a texture on it. That was the one thing I wasn't prepared for. You couldn't run a microfiber over it. It would grab the microfiber. So it was different. And the interior wasn't done. And he's like, "Well, I got the headliner put in." Well, he put in a dimpled headliner, and I'm that just drives me crazy in the older ones. And I'm like, dude, I told you not to do that, but he did. And then now that we've gone through the emotion of getting all the way here and all the hype, now we're here. The thing's running. It went down the road. Everything seems fine. It's not exactly what I want, but I can wrench a little. I can do some stuff. I'll make it mine. But we got it loaded up. And he threw some parts at me and threw some wheels at me, and kind of got me, ushered me out the door and kind of made me happy, try to get me out the way.
Right.
And his whole scheme hadn't fallen apart. Like I said, I was one of his customers. I wasn't one of his true scam artists, but I was
Right.
one of his customers that kind of kept the dream alive for him so he could do something else on the side. He could work his other bullshit.
Right.
So,
So right here, along your timeline, then this is probably when you started to realize other people are actually having similar experiences as you.
right.
How did you
Well,
discover that?
what happened was is I got it home, and the next shoot, I forgot this. The next day, the uh the trunk lid latched, and I couldn't get it open, and we had to drill the thing open, which was a mess. So that was bad. So then I got it in the garage, and we kind of tinkered with it a little bit. Well, I was like, man, I don't get this thing out. We can get this rag top open. I don't get this thing rolling. So I went maybe 10 miles on the highway. I scooted down around local a little bit, and then I got on the highway, and I was going to go north a little ways. I got 10 miles away, and I'm like, man, something's up. I could smell it for one, and it was dragging. The brakes were dragging. So I'm
Mm.
like, all right, well, I get off and stop at a convenience store, and it basically the grease was leaking out of the hubs, on the front. It was that hot. The grease was in the bear. What ended up happening is that he had later model brake parts in there that shouldn't have been in there, so they weren't working, and it got so hot that they was just leaking down. It came out from behind the hubcap, and it was leaking down onto the rim. That's
Mm.
how bad it was, and had to get it towed home. It was so at that point, we're within a week probably of getting it home. He's like, all right, well, we still had nothing's blown up yet. So he's like, all right, send me the bill for all the parts. I got it, and I'm going to send you the money. So he sent me money for the parts. So he's still on the line. I'm not scammed yet. The whole thing, the news articles and everything hadn't hit yet or nothing. So
Right,
we're
right,
still
right.
we're still moving along. So this is probably end of 20, I think. If my time might be off a little bit, but so I had some more knowledgeable friends over, and it just wasn't adding up. The car just was not put together well. The parts weren't put together. The parts were mixed matched from nothing was period correct, and it just wasn't put together very well. And I got to the point, I'm like, hey, this isn't gonna fly. I called him. I said, we need to work something out. This isn't gonna work for me. What are we gonna do about this? And the first issue I ran into was the car behind you had been sold, and it had been sold to a customer who already had it in paint with him.
Oh,
So yeah, this car had moved on, and basically, so now I'm like, well, all right, well, what are we gonna do to get out of this? Because I I couldn't list it and sell it because I knew what it was. And I wouldn't do that to anybody locally around. I knew what it was, and I wasn't going to kick it down the road to my friends are like, "We'll just sell it." And I'm like, I can sell it, or I can put it in storage for 5 years and see if I come back to it and feel any better about it. What am I going to do with this thing? I'm out of car. What am I going to do with this thing? And I kind of kicked it around for a while, and um, went back and forth with him, and we came up with a number, which was not even. I think I got 10 or 11 grand out of him. Which, if you got a car that I'm telling him all the problems are, and I actually, he had sent me cars that he was getting in stock. I could trade you this for it. I could trade you that for it. We just couldn't come up with anything, and I was over it. At this point, he wasn't answering as much as he used to.
mhm.
He'd gotten me out the door. I'd already gone back home, and he's making money off the car that I sent him. We got to the point where he said, I'm going to give you this money, but I work off of a fund where I can only take so many withdrawals per year, and I have one coming up. And I'm like, man. So I had to take a couple draws for it to get to me, but he finally sent it, and
Hey, man.
which,
I
yeah,
mean,
I mean, nothing had hit the fan yet, so I had gotten paid, and I was really disappointed with them, and everything that happened. But
but
I,
you got your ultimately you got your money. I mean, right? I mean, so
right,
really you're probably one of the very few lucky ones compared to some of the others. Because, like you said, everything hit the fan and everything started making headlines, right?
right. And I maybe got 60%, you know what I mean? But I was able, but during that time waiting for to get money, I was able to make a deal on another car that I thought was cool. And I had the support of my friends that fronted me money. And it was like this cool, the VW community kind of said, all right, well, you know, I went to look at some cars and my buddies fronted me the money or a friend of mine fronted me the money. And then I had a drop dead date. I said, hey, if this money doesn't come through, then you keep the car. And he was okay with that. Well, he pushed it all the way to the end. And I had another buddy show up at a party with me and he handed me a box of cash and said, don't let the car get away. So I do have friends that, you know,
Yeah, hell yeah.
watch me trip, fall, and stumble, but they were still supportive and I was gonna move on.
Yeah.
So he came through last minute and then that all finished up. And then not too long after that, I believe what really was part of the start of his demise is that he had taken money for a bus and had sold it to two or three different people.
Man.
And he had started, or he had a customer's bus there. I'm sure there'll be some comments on it, but he had a customer's bus there that he had sold it as his own and started like he was going to work on it for somebody. So he was pulling a scam. He was starting to really get deep into it. And then, I mean, he had a warrant and him and his wife went on the run and it was just a whole,
Shit.
and
So,
come to find out, he's preyed on other communities. Like he's preyed on like
oh
the off road community had a problem with him. So he's got this thing down. He's sitting in jail now. I think I don't know if he's still there, but I mean,
what were the
they got him.
when the headlines came out, just, from your memory, like what was the story that was made public?
I believe he had had so many complaints. His business had had so many complaints, and they went in and locked down the whole facility.
Oh,
Because when I was talking to him, he was expanding so much. He had almost a whole plaza kind of area that he had taken over. I mean, he was doing so many different from paint booths to he was expanding and expanding and expanding. And I believe everybody's stuff just got locked down. And they came in and I believe that's on the state police side, came in and locked down his whole place and he was being charged with fraud because he had so many customers that just finally caught on to what he was doing. And I think the one that I think the catalyst was a bus, like a bay window bus or split that had been sold or was promised work, and then he had sold it as a car to somebody else, and it
mm.
was actually this customer's car, and it was just a whole thing. And they basically just had to sit there and wait for their stuff to get released, and you know they had no shot at getting it. Like I said, he went on the run with his wife, and they had to find him. It was a whole ordeal.
What were some of your biggest lessons that you took away from this whole, like you just said, ordeal?
I'm hard headed, but I mean, I don't. I I step in it again, but I if I was to tell anybody else, because I certainly didn't, is to keep your emotions out of it. And a deal isn't a deal. You know, you need to look. There are great builders out there, and the reason they charge more and they don't seem like this great deal is because they do the work and they're dependable.
Mm.
And this person over here that was doing this, and other builders I've dealt with that are doing this at you know two-thirds the cost. You get what you pay for, and sometimes, and it's happening. You know, it's happened to me again. Sometimes it is just you know don't believe the hype because
You,
there's a hype to it. I mean, I ran into another building. It was a hype.
yeah,
It's just like
you said a good statement
excitement.
earlier. You said before I started to see the smoke, right?
Right.
And that statement, it made me think, most of the time for most of us as grown men, where there's smoke, there's fire. And
Right.
you know what I mean? So I feel that, man. I feel that. So did
But
it
these are our hopes, our hobbies, and our dreams. You know, these
right,
are our
right.
these, and we work hard for we
So
work hard for the money.
did it change anything for you about how you approach maybe restorations today, or are you are you maybe doing more due diligence on the back end, on the front end, on any end? I mean, did it change anything for you?
Well, unfortunately, it's a different story. I went through this again. I ended up in court having with a builder and had to take him to court. So I guess I don't. Like I said, I'm a hard head.
Dude.
But and I had to get a settlement. And You know what I've learned is that cars can have a little rust, and cars can, and you don't have to be. I don't, and plus I'm older, not much older, but I'm older, and I don't have the energy to go. It takes a lot of energy and patience to go through it. Patience is the
And,
hardest thing,
and money.
and money,
It takes a lot of money,
and
bro.
it takes a lot of money. Yeah, but the patience is harder for me. I can allot a little bit of money to go to a builder, but I never have I don't sit on a pile of money. I make money. I don't have money. So, if I can send this builder a little bit of money here and there, and that I can do.
Right, right,
But
right.
the patience and the non-communication, that's kind of when you know you're in trouble. If they're just asking you for money and they're not really, that's the only time they talk to you, or you know what I mean? Some of those, that scenarios like that really, that's the stuff that hurts. But I've gotten to the point. I've had a few different kind of cars. This car behind me right now, it has a little rust on the bottom. It has little stuff, but it's not going to fall apart while I'm alive. So I'm gonna put it down the road.
Yeah,
If my feet aren't going to go through the bottom, I'm going to drive it.
yeah.
And so I'm past the restoration.
Let's do that then. Let's move past the restoration talk. Let's talk about finding this Beetle again, because that's part of your story as well. How did you eventually end up finding this Beetle behind me, the Glacier Blue Beetle that you eventually traded away?
Well, when the shit hit the fan, the you can imagine everybody online was talking, and there was a lot of talk. And at some point, I believe I put up a post, hey, this was my car, anybody know what happened to it? It was supposed to be built. Here it is, sitting at the shop where it was. And a gentleman, Mike Devane, he ended up being in Delaware. He's 3 hours from me, 2 hours from me. He said, yeah, I had that car. I had it, in the post, I'm like, hey, I think it was painted. I was told it was painted. It's not blue anymore. But do we know what's going on with it? And he hit me up, and I'm like, yeah, and by the time
How,
that
how long
at the,
was this? How much time has passed now, just for everybody to connect with this?
within 6 or 8 months, I believe, because he was pretty well along. That car was almost done. So he had the interior done. The paint was done, and he was just doing last little touch up stuff on it. He had
Oh,
gotten
so
it paint. Yeah, he had gotten it painted with JB, and then that's really all the contract he did with him. He had it painted, and then he sent it to him, and he built it at his house.
okay.
So at that point, actually, when I came along, he was looking for a builder for his engine, and there's a local guy that I put him on to that actually built the engine for the blue car. So by the time I gotten down there, so it was within the year, but I had gotten down there, like I said, it's 2 hour drive, and yeah, there it was.
Yeah,
It was different.
I was gonna say, what was it like seeing it after all this work now is completed?
It was very new. I think it had newer GTI fabric for seats, which is not. It's all style stuff. It's a beautiful car, very well done. It was done in a gray, almost at the time, the popular gray at the time, Gardo, that Gardo gray. It's really well done. Actually, I just talked to him the other day, and he's got fuel injected in the thing now, and that thing just, yeah, it's a big time car. I wouldn't be able to afford to get it back now. I mean, it's a good car. I mean, I could hang my hat that it's on the road, but I mean, it's nothing that it wasn't my dream for it, but I had to let that go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, very nice car, very modern.
I know that feeling, the feeling of having a vision, having a dream for one of these cars, and then it goes to somebody else. Somebody else completes that vision, but it's not your vision. And then you're able to see that car, sit in that car, feel that car, even sometimes drive that car. And
Right,
you're looking around like, son of a dang, right? So I
right.
I feel that. I'm right here with you. I feel that. Do you think that with these cars, because well, they are unique and we don't hang on to all of them, do you think most classic Volkswagens live several lives?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
me
and
too.
you can go back. I mean, the first Volkswagen that I know of. I mean, I remember my dad had a 66 tan, and I was 8, 9 years old. And my dad's a big dude. I remember him pulling the shifter out of that thing, trying to get it in gear, and he pulled that thing out and handed it to my mom and started cussing about this Volkswagen. I mean, that was, you're talking about 1984, 83. That was a family car. That was a 20-year-old family car, and I'm sure today, if it's still around, it's probably looking like the one behind me. They just go through all, all the different. I don't know if they're much of family cars anymore, but when you go back to their, you know what I mean? When you go now, they're toys, but
Right.
when you go back, they lived a heck of a life before we picked them up out of the yard and threw them inside like they'd never seen rain before. They've gone through some stuff. We tuck them away and throw tarps on them, and we get them like they've never seen anything. But they certainly have lives and seen a lot.
What is it you think about these early Beetles that keep pulling you back? I mean, one behind me is a 58, one behind you is also a 58, right?
This is 64, sunroof 64.
Okay, my bad, my bad, my bad.
No problem.
Um, because I keep noticing that we kept talking about, that 58, 59, only a 2 year model, right? And then this one Glacier Blue is only a 1 year model. So,
All right.
so pretty cool. But yeah, man.
This is the end of the generation. My first car was a 69. When I was 15 years old, I picked up a 59, 69, and I drove that through my into my high in 1992. I got that and drove it my sophomore year in school and junior year in high
96.
school.
96 was my first. I got a 72 standard Beetle right down here,
Nice.
mall parking lot. I bought it. I bought it from a little old lady. It was my favorite car, man. I think
Uh,
about that car all the time.
I don't even have pictures of that first one, which is weird, but yeah.
You do or don't?
I don't. That's
Okay,
that's one of the
I
only
do.
cars that I really can't put a point on it. You know what I mean? I can't. I will never
Yeah.
be able to find that one.
I got pictures
I
of. I still have one of the registrations from back in the day.
Oh wow. See,
Yeah.
I know that was the roughest riding car I ever had though. I mean, I hit a prairie dog out in the desert and that thing would almost jump off the road. That thing was not lowered right. I tell you that right now. That thing was, but for me at 15, heck, in Arizona, I throw the
Shit,
flaps out and just hit it.
that's
It
a
had
hot
velour
rod.
interior. It
At
had a velour
15, dude,
interior.
that's
It
a
had
hot
six,
rod. Yeah.
yeah, six little 1641, and it had velour interior, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world. Whatever, and we just get out and run the heck out of the thing, have fun, and so that's just like your first car. It's going to be there. I don't think. I mean, I don't know if I have a 61, which puts it in the same category as a 58, 59, but I have a 61 rag top that I finally got a rag top, and but so that's a dream car. And when we get it done, we'll see what happens. When I get it done, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I need to have one around. I guess there'll always be one. I have other dreams, but there'll always be one sitting around somewhere.
Sure. How many projects actually do you currently own right now?
Well, this one's done. This one basically. I had this one out today. I'm getting better. I'm starting to trust this one more. It left me on the side of the road a couple of times, so it's going through it. It's going through its growing pains. But I'll
Right.
say today, I shot down the road and jumped on the highway, and we were doing. I was doing 70 in this little thing,
Nice, man.
and this one's I haven't had one this slow in a while, and so this one's a little darty on me. So I'm trying to get used to that. But I've had them low, but a lot more suspension under them. This one doesn't have any front shocks on it. It's just on its torsion, so it feels a little darty.
Yeah.
So it's 70 miles an hour. It's not very forgiving on a, you kind of little zig and zag.
A
Yeah,
little
it'll make
squirrely. Yeah.
make you pucker a little bit. But
Yeah. Thing of,
I'm starting to trust this one. So this one's done, and I have the 61 rag is a Dub blue, and it's going to have all silver guts. And so it needs interior done and go through the engine and some brake work. This one was basically a shell. So I've done everything on this one. Um, and this one's been the most fun because I tell you what, my grandson could come over tomorrow and throw a Matchbox car at it. And it just, you know what I mean? I really this one. You can't hurt this one, and I think that's the funnest part of it is
fun.
that
Yeah, fun.
I've had nice cars, and I really don't want to have to worry about it around my grand. I really don't want to be screeching at a grandkid over a
So
car.
So just the two?
Just the two right now.
Yeah, right now. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see
Um,
what happens.
yeah. Sounds like this one behind you might mean more to you though than the 61.
The 61 was kind of one of those. Well, my black 58 that I've talked about a couple times,
Okay.
it went off to a builder, and I had all the parts to make this a ragtop. At the time when I started the build on my 58, I'm like, it's cheaper for me to build. This was
Mhm.
2 or 3 years ago when the market was high. With this builder, it was cheaper for me to build a ragtop and everything I wanted. I thought, because I want a ragtop, and this is my car. This is my baby. It was really a nice car, and he ruined that car, and so it went on its way. And my rebound was, I'm going to go get a ragtop. So I went and bought this blue one and done a little bit to it, and we'll get it done, and I'll get it done. And it's not, it's a little bit nicer than this paint wise, but it's not perfect. And so it'll probably be the same as this. It'll be a nice, and maybe, my, we can justify anything. It might be the one my girlfriend drives, or, you know, you pick one up and go, that's my girlfriend's car. And you get done, and she's like, man, this car is too damn low for me to drive. I was like, oh, I guess it's not yours anymore
Have you been following the paint work on my wife's Gia?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Pretty sick, yeah.
That's some cool shit. Yeah, that's
And
very cool.
yeah, my buddy. So it started as an AI idea. I'm a big fan of the color green. It was painted like a forest green, and I ended up having all the rust on the bottom fixed. So it was primered. So it was that nice
Yeah.
forest green, and then it went into a primer. My wife was like, "This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I'm not driving." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So it kind of started getting put on the back burner. I had a thing. I traded away for a 62 Beetle I've got in my driveway right now. I've got an engine in the garage waiting to go in it, blah, 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 but it wasn't a priority. And we were just talking over the last couple shows here. She's like, I kind of miss having a car in the show. I'm like, well, I could put some love into your Gia if you want, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
She's like, let's wrap it. Let's wrap it the brand colors of the real estate.
Nice.
I said, okay, let's do it because it was prepped and ready. So we took it to a wrap company and they quoted me like $4,500, 5 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, hold on a second now. I mean, I know some people in the dub scene that can probably either do this cheaper or let's just paint the damn thing. 'Cause I can probably get it painted
Right.
for less. So she's not sure what she wants to do, at that time. So we ended up kind of putting it on the back burner again for a little while. So one day I'm messing around on chat GPT and I'm like, all right, take this picture of my car and design this cartoon, futuristic, like kind of one off, really cool. Use 5 different shades of green, in the prompt, and let's see what you come up with. And dude, it spit
Right.
out fucking coolest, craziest, So I got a buddy, Matt McAllister, who ended up doing the paint work. I sent him a picture of the AI rendering, and I was like, hey man, I've seen you do some cartoon work on some buses in the past. What you think about this? He goes, dude, I can do that. I was like, let's go. Let's do it.
Right.
So he had
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah, he had it about 6 weeks. But yeah, man, he had a little bit of travel and some other mural work and stuff that he was doing. Obviously, he doesn't paint cars for a living. He paints buildings. He does big
Yeah.
giant murals and stuff on the sides of big buildings and stuff. So pretty talented mural artist. But yeah, I've been
It kind of yeah, it kind of reminded me, there was a guy back a while ago that did the Sharpie cars. He did like a Camaro
yeah,
or a
yeah, yeah.
Lamborghini, like a Corvette. He did it all in Sharpie. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Cool
So
stuff.
that's what a lot of the end lines, the black and the white, kind of on the edges of all of those, really bright, crazy looking accents. Uh, the edge work, I think is what he called it, ended up being those black lines. And dude, he used a paint marker, so it was like a
Nice.
giant Sharpie. And honestly, I think I love that about the paint job more than the colors. And I'll tell you why. Because it's like a fingerprint. There ain't one car out there that's going to be the same as this one because those black lines, those outlines, they're like they're not perfect.
Right.
I swear, I think I like that's my favorite part about that paint job is that, when he was sending me all the updates and all the pictures, I'm like, dude, sick. This guy's so talented, with all those lines are so dead straight and everything. Well, then as the end came, I started looking, I'm like, oh man, I really started liking it even more because then all the lines weren't as perfect. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. I
Right.
wanted this kind of comic book looking, just crazy ass. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I got that.
That's
So,
awesome.
but yeah. So, anyhow, back to you. This ain't about me. It's about you. What's one piece of advice that you would give somebody that is maybe, looking at buying a project or maybe a disassembled car, yeah, just maybe talk on that for a second because sounds like you've done it a couple times. But what's some advice you could give somebody that's thinking about starting a project like that?
I, the patience is the biggest thing. What are you going to have to outsource? What are you capable of doing yourself? Um, I mean, time is the biggest part. If you're going to do anything yourself, how long is it going to take you? You know, Disassembling a car is the easiest part. Getting them back together is the hardest. I
Yeah.
mean that. I mean, you disassemble a car, that's where they go to die. Yeah, that's 90% of them.
Dang.
So that's the
Well
hardest
said.
part. Yeah, the hardest part is and having the patience. It's hard to say go into it with an edge. Don't go in there with your heart on your sleeve because if you do, if you're talking to the right person, the right person is going to be the straightforward guy. You're going to think he's a dick, and you're going to think that I don't want to go to him because he all he wants to do is work on my car and get it done. Well, that's the guy you want. You want the guy that's the no nonsense. You know, the guy that wants to hype you and give you ideas every other day is what he can do and what he always wanted to do with the car.
Right.
That's the stuff that's it feels like biding time. They're
Yeah.
biding time. You know what I mean? You're putting it out there. I I just think you just need to keep your antennas up and go and really, really investigate your builder. You really have to know your builder. The last one I dealt with was local. I'm like, oh man, this guy's local. I'll be on top of it. It'll be easy. It doesn't matter because when it comes down to it, if they're con man and if they have a game they're playing on you, they don't care if they're in your backyard, they're across country. They're going to play their game.
Yeah.
You would think the guy in Indiana, JB, he'd have something on me because I couldn't just pop into his shop. It don't matter. You pop into the guy that's down the road, he's just going to hide from you.
Good
He's
advice.
going to see you coming.
Know your builder, do your due
Oh,
diligence. I mean, I think that's good advice. You said you're a knucklehead earlier, right? Haven't really learned your lesson. If somebody called you tomorrow, offered you another pile of parts with this fantastic story behind it, are you going to do it all over again, or did you learn your lesson by now?
since I'm thinking about it, you know what I mean? I've learned my lesson to the fact that I think I know where to go. I'd have
Okay.
to do, I would do it again, but I'd have to be on the page. I'm going to send it out to this builder and it's going to cost me an arm and a leg, but I know this builder is going to get it done.
Yeah.
And then what do I need him to do to get it back to me? I can do interior. I can do I can rewire it. What do I need to get to him to get the rust repair and the paint done maybe and get it back to me? I didn't have that with the blue car. You know, I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the knowledge. This car back here was the greatest thing because I did 90% of it myself, and that was the bigger thing. Then, but yeah, if that car came back to me again, I'd say I'd have a plan. I'd be able to go forward a little bit better now. But I don't know.
Sounds like
I feel like I could do it better, but I'm a knucklehead. Like I said, I fall in the same hole. Maybe.
So what's next for Tony? What you got cooking?
Uh Car wise, there is a car that I think I got my brothers on the hook for a fastback, a late '60s fastback that's been dormant for about 30 years, sitting in a
Oh,
hole.
wow.
It was actually sitting behind the notchback that I had, and I think we're the owner knows, and we've talked about it, and my brother really wants a Type 3, and I think that's something I can support and we can work on together
It's one
at
of
this
my
point.
favorites. One of my personal
Yeah,
favorites in the whole lineup of classic air cooleds is Type 3 notch.
yeah.
Yeah.
This one's a fasty. It's a
Yeah.
67, so it's got all the good stuff. It's the 12 volt, and but it's been sitting. I mean, we'll get it home. We'll go through the engine. Other than that, it's a good car. And uh, I had a square back at one time. I thought my brother really wanted. He hauled off and got a motorcycle. I'm like, well, I guess you don't want this. So it moved down the road. So he's well, figure that, but probably that. And I'm always looking for something. I mean,
Yeah, me too,
I
man.
got it.
We all
I
are.
mean, I have other.
Part of
Oh
our
yeah. I
sickness.
mean, yeah. I have an OBS sickness, so I have an OBS sitting outside the garage now that's done. I love those. I'm a '90s kid. If it's '90s, I'm dragging it home. I mean, I was looking at all-wheel drive safari vans the other day. I was like, I can put that thing on its ass and we can go.
Awesome, man.
So there's always, like I said, marketplace is bad. It's
It's
it's a
it
bad
is.
place to be.
It is. And I'm a marketplace compulsive gambler. Uh I'm on I swear to you, dude, I'm on marketplace. I wish this was a joke, probably 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
not at the same time, but like, in the morning, you know, I'll get out of the shower, might be sipping my coffee. I'll scroll Marketplace for a good 15 minutes. I get to the office, sometimes between some of my work, I'm scrolling, I'm looking for stuff. One of my favorite things to find is just posted.
Right?
I'm gonna find this and get it before anybody else can, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then you almost feel like at times there's like withdraw, you're missing out.
Right.
One of the worst things that you can see is something that's badass and you can go through the pictures, but it says sold.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it just taps into when we were a kid. We sat around with Sears and J.C. Penney catalogs, and we sat around. I mean,
Amen.
we picked up our weekly Auto Traders, and we wore that thing out.
Hey, dude, I was
And
just
then
telling my
now
kids this the other day. I used to go through one of my favorite things to do when I was about 12, 13 was pick up an auto trader that was about a year old and call the ads, right? And
that's
I'd
called
always,
harassment, I think.
yeah, dude, I'd always call like the Mustangs and the Camaros, and I'd be like, "Yeah, how you doing? Calling about the Camaro, the white one you got in the auto trader." And they'd be like, "The white Camaro? What?" I'm like, "Yeah, white Camaro here says it's a 5.7 liter," and they're like, buddy, I sold that car probably, I don't know, half a year, maybe even a year ago. No, well, it's in the brand new auto trader. So you're saying you don't want to sell it anymore? They say, no, I already sold it.
But the genius of that is when you find the one that hasn't sold, then you have the leverage.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
It never
genius of
happened.
it.
That never happened. It was always some BS, it was just me being a punk kid, uh, trying to prank call people. But I was just telling my kids about that. I'm like, y'all have no idea. You can look up stuff on eBay and Marketplace and stuff now. We used to have one picture of a car in the auto trader, and all we could see was the cover picture, and we'd have to call and negotiate and go look and all,
And all we knew was PSPBAC.
that's it. Our
We had
steering
to,
power brakes. Yeah.
yeah, we had to decipher the code.
Yes, yes. So awesome, man. Where can people follow you if they want to, hang with you and tag along with your Volkswagen adventures? You got an Instagram or a Facebook or
I do have an instant. I'm not as, because I haven't had a Volkswagen. This one's just getting done. I have Hall underscore VW on Instagram, and
Hall,
I'll probably, yeah,
Hall?
HALL.
Oh, Hall. So your last
Yep.
name. Duh.
Last name. Yep.
I thought you meant Hall like Hall and ass. Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's my email.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hall underscore VW. I'll probably have more stuff on the Instagram. And but other than that, I'm not a real social. I'll probably be getting out more. I take a lot of pictures when I have them out, but I haven't had a bug on the road in probably 3 years. So this is
Nice,
nice to have
dude.
one again.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. All right. I got a question for you before we jump into some rapid fire questions.
Right.
Describe the Volkswagen community for me in just one word.
Complicated.
Damn, haven't heard that one yet. Good word though, complicated. And from almost an outsider's perspective, because you said you haven't had one on the road in a few years, that's a really good word. And I'm gonna take that. At times I'm gonna agree with you. At other times I'm gonna say it's probably one of the easiest communities, but this ain't my podcast, it's yours. So we're going to stick with complicated. All right. Rapid fire questions are questions that deserve a fast response. All right. If a story comes of it, great, we'll tell it. If not,
All right.
all good. Let's just try to go with the gut, fast response, whatever you're ready for. You ready?
Hit me.
All right. First one, oval or split window?
Split window.
Split window. Stock or custom?
Custom.
Patina or show quality?
Patina.
Rag top or hard top?
Rag top.
36 horse or big motor?
Big motor.
Original paint or fresh new paint?
Original.
Favorite Volkswagen color ever?
Probably the Glacier Blue. I can't think of the other one. The other one's a silver, a Nardo, something color like that. I can't think of the Strato Silver. Strato Silver is a cool color.
Okay. Favorite year Beetle?
58.
Cool. Did I tell you I had a 58 myself? Did I tell you?
No,
I had a 58.
no.
When I first got back into the scene, right before COVID, I ended up with a 58. It was yellow, like you had described before. This was a car that had been through a fire
Wow.
and was completely rebuilt. Dude, it was sweet. It was a really nice car. I really liked it a lot. And in the height of COVID, I couldn't believe how much money it was worth.
Right.
So I sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I literally I couldn't believe it. And then with the money, I end up with a bunch of other projects, and and then I chased that one and looked for it and really try. I wanted to buy it back, and to me it was one of the ones that got away. But I had a 58, loved it, loved every
I think
aspect of it. Great car.
I think you get a little bit of throwback with the 58. It reminds you of earlier, but it's starting to move towards modern. I think it has a good mix of both.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a great car. All right, back to you. Back to you. Favorite road trip you've ever taken in a Volkswagen?
In a Volkswagen. When I was in that '69 Bug, my girlfriend moved away to Yuma, and I lived in Casa Grande, which was a couple hours, hour and a half, couple hours from there. And I would go see her. And man, I would peg that little '69. I've gotten home, and actually after coming home, I mean, I used to stick my toe underneath the roller pedal like a cruise control and just peg that thing. And I got within a half a mile of my house at a stop sign, and both the valve covers fell off the thing. It was so hot.
Oh my God, bro.
It, I mean, I'm 16, 17 years old. I just pushed that little thing. But that's probably the most fun and memorable. Just shooting down I'm going to see my girlfriend, just off and running.
Yeah, love it. One Volkswagen you'll never sell.
I'd have to get it first. I don't
Hey,
know.
that's okay.
I was in that.
Do
I
you have
I've
one
gone
you
through that.
regret then? Do you have one you regret selling?
No, but I really regret digging into that black 58. That car had so many lives. That car, if we want to go off on a little bit, that car was bought by a service member when he came back in the '60s. I have pictures of his daughter in front of who's in her 60s now. He bought it when he came back from the service. He sold it, kept his eye on it, and bought it back in his 70s. And I bought it from him when he was in his 80s. That
Dude.
car did not deserve the end of its life, which it's gone. It's parts. I have parts here and parts there, and the body went down the road as a shell.
Oh,
That's the car that is a shame. It hurt. That one hurts. And it was a good looking car. Now it was slips. It would have ran another 30 years, like I told you. But when they dug into it, yes, it was very bad. But I let somebody dig into it, and now it's gone. That's the one I regret.
you made a point a little while ago. You said when you take them apart, that's doomsday. And man, that hit deep because that's a lot of us. I say us, I mean the Volkswagen community. Sometimes we start these projects and we take them apart with the best intentions, but they don't go back together. So
No,
it's God, dog, that hit deep when you said that earlier. All right, how about this one? Most overrated VW trend that's current right now.
I I don't know one right now. Actually, I don't have any trends that. I mean, I've been through all of them, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I've had a single wheel trailer. I have a swamp cooler. I have, you know, what I mean, I've been through all the
Yeah.
widgets and gadgets that come through, but right now I haven't. I don't know what's going on really right now. I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't been to a show in a few years.
Most underrated Volkswagen model.
Underrated?
Underrated.
I think uh Type threes are underrated. All the Type threes. I think people really love them. People connect to them. The station wagon, when they come up, the station wagon, the squarebacks, they just think that's the greatest thing in the world. But they just don't. They don't bring money on the money side. I don't think Type threes bring the money. This bug behind me, the same year this and would compete with a squareback, and I think they should be valued more. I think they're cooler. Bugs are cool, but I think a different type of Volkswagen is. I think Type threes they're I think they're underrated. They're
Okay.
loved, but they don't bring the cash.
I
So
can take
if
it.
that answers that question.
It does. All right. How about this one? One tool that you can't live without.
I like my hazard assistant. I drag that thing around the shop. That's a tool.
Hey,
Little
man.
cart.
Yeah, this is your show.
Yeah, I really like that thing. It really to drag that thing over where I need it around the lift. Yeah, that's the tool I really like.
Okay. One piece of advice doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but one piece of advice that you would give somebody who is starting their very first restoration.
If not, don't do it. Patience.
So consistent with what you said earlier.
Yeah, patience. Patience is the hardest thing. There's so many other aspects. There's so many other things you have to check before would go down that road. And if you're new, you're not gonna know it until it's behind you. But there's just so much to it. So incredible patience would be the biggest one.
If money were no object for you, not saying that it is, but just play along with me. What would be your ultimate dream build?
I'd probably get a double cab. I think a double cab would be cool.
Sick. I love double cabs. You mean
And
a split window too?
split window double cab. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be cool.
What a
And I
sexy.
don't, yeah, and I don't need it to be all done. I don't need it to be a new resto. I think, it could be a patinaed out one. Just have that right look and stance and go down the road and take people with you. That's what matters.
This story wasn't just a story about a 1958 Beetle, right? We talked about patience, persistence, trusting strangers, sometimes not trusting strangers, surviving bad deals, chasing dreams, discovering that sometimes the journey of a new car becomes far more valuable than the finished product in itself because it's that journey, right? Every
Yeah.
Volkswagen has a story, but very few of these stories actually start as parts in a Buffalo driveway and end
Absolutely.
with years of persistence and detective work and heartbreak and redemption and loss of money and holy shit, man, you've been through it all. But it all started with this one behind me. One unforgettable Glacier Blue Bug. And that's a wrap for this episode of Dub Life Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at Dub Life Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. dublifediaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.